Well, I can't believe it's the 5-year anniversary of the Alice Isenhower Fund. And, you met Alice numerous times. And she was actually the first lady I met when I did visits in the Western home communities as the new director of spiritual care about 10 years ago. And I went in to visit Alice because she was afraid to leave her room because she had some complications she was dealing with on her face and her head. And she was 100 years old, and I remember she was reading the Big Ten magazine, and I asked her if she was a fan of football. She was reading the Football Big Ten magazine, and she said she loved the Iowa Hawkeyes. Well, you just so happened to be playing for the Hawkeyes at that time. So we had that initial connection, Alice and I. And I asked her how long she'd been a fan. She said, she looked me right in the eye and said, since they started. I kind of chuckled because she wasn't that old. But then she had to go to Iowa City for a surgery, and I called Ike. You were down there playing football, and I asked Ike if he would go in and visit her after her surgery. And you remember walking in there, Ike?
Yeah, so walking in there, the first thing I remember just thinking back to it was her smile. I've had a few surgeries. I was not this jovial, and I also am not 100. So that was encouraging, and just to meet her, talk to her. She had a T-shirt for me to sign. And Dad said she was a little nervous to meet an Iowa football player. I ended up being pretty nice, I guess. And Dad, you continue.
Yeah, she said, she told me she'd been a fan her whole life, but never met a football player. And I could tell when you walked in the room to visit her, she was actually nervous to meet a football player at 100 years old. And it was just a great interaction with her there. And you ended up taking that T-shirt and getting it signed by a few other players.
Yep.
And then a bye week rolled around later that season, and you were coming back to Cedar Falls. Alice was back in her room here, and I asked Ike if he might go visit her. And Ike said, yeah, maybe I could. And the quarterback's coming to stay the weekend with us. Maybe CJ Beathard could come. So you guys, we went there and visited her when you had your bye week. What do you remember about that?
So I remember her telling us that she was telling the nurses all day. They kept shutting her door saying, no one's coming to visit you. And she kept saying, no, CJ Beathard and his buddy Ike are coming to visit me tonight. And they're saying, no, you're dreaming, or kind of just scoffing at her. And this is when CJ Beathard, I mean, you know how it is when you're the starting quarterback at Iowa. It's the biggest name probably in the state at times. And we walked in there, and she was just, I could tell she was happy to see us, happy to be back home, and excited to tell the nurses that CJ was visiting.
Yeah. I was with the guys when they went to visit her, and she told me right away, go down to the nurse's office and tell them the Hawkeye quarterback is here. So I walked into the nurse's station, and I asked the nurses, this is at Standard Family Assisted Living, back, and Alice was there on the second floor, and I walked into the nurse's room and I said, ladies, I said, the Hawkeye quarterback's here. I wonder if you have a Sharpie, because he'd like to sign the Hawkeye posters that are in Alice's room. And they were just stunned that actually the quarterback would come. But anyway, you guys started visiting with her when I went there. And what did she say to you guys?
She said, Ike, you need to do a better job protecting. And CJ, you need to scramble more. You need to run a little bit more, because he had run more the year before. So, I mean, she was sharp. She was on it. She had remembered, games and plays even from the prior year, and just getting to chat with her about life. Very special memory for CJ and I. I was just talking to him actually today. It was his birthday, and last week we were just talking about that visit. So it was a special time just for us to see that side of life and be like, hey, I wouldn't mind being 100 someday if it's like that.
And I remember after you guys visited her, it came to the end of that year, and you obviously you're in the NFL, you're getting a paycheck. You asked me what you might support at the end of the year, some sort of ministry you might support. And I suggested to Ike, he might want to support, visiting Alice, a shut-in there, maybe support a chaplain visiting people like Alice who are shut in, don't get out very much, and encouraging them in the Lord. And you liked that idea. And then what did you suggest there, and what happened?
Yeah, I just asked CJ if he wanted to be a part of it, and just seemed like a no-brainer after the couple visits, and CJ was really touched by her as well, and so we're just like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. And so we set up the Alice Isenhower Fund. That had been about, now it's 5 years ago. And that fund started, paying for a new chaplain at the Western Home, who was Mark Eggleston. And he's still there. And so many people have supported that fund since. And we just want to express our gratitude for the contributions to that work and hope that can continue. It's such a cool ministry to go in and visit people who sort of have lost connection with the outside world and encourage them in the love of Christ and just share the love of Christ with them. I'll never forget my time with Alice. The last thing she said to me was, "I'm going to keep praying for you." This was in the last week of her life, she said. And she had told me, the Lord has told me he's ready to bring me home. We called a few of her friends, and she said, "I just want you to know I'm going to be praying for you, and I'm going to be praying for the Iowa Hawkeyes." And I have no doubt she still is. And what an honor to continue to honor her life with this fund and support this kind of work and this kind of ministry. So thank you, Ike, for getting it started.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks to all these people for
thank you guys. Keep it
supporting.
going.
Appreciate it.